America's top diplomat, Antony Blinken, has arrived in Cairo for the final leg of his Middle East tour to try to stop the spread of the Israel-Hamas war. He will be holding talks with Egyptian President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi. His visit comes just after an Israeli delegation landed in Egypt's capital, reportedly for a new round of talks on a possible hostage for prisoner swap. In Gaza, fighting between Israel and Hamas continues in central and southern parts of the enclave. The Israeli military says that it killed 10 Hamas fighters in its latest operations. The United Nations warns that the IDF's intensifying attacks in central Gaza and Khan Yunis are causing rapidly rising casualties, adding that the bombardment is having devastating consequences for tens of thousands of civilians. Gaza's health ministry, meantime, says that more than 23,000 people have been killed since the war began, while the World Health Organization says that it's facing nearly insurmountable challenges to its aid delivery efforts due to the strikes, restrictions on movement and fuel shortages. Meanwhile, the United Nations Security Council has passed a US-led resolution calling for an immediate end to attacks by Yemen's Houthi rebels on shipping in the Red Sea. It passed with 11 votes in favour. 4 abstained, including Russia and China. The US and the UK hinted at military strikes, warning the Iran-backed militants would face, quote, consequences. And for more, Trent Murray joins us. He's live for us from Tel Aviv. Trent, we're hearing reports of a possible another round perhaps, of hostage negotiation talks in Cairo as Mr. Blinken arrives in the Egyptian capital. What can you tell us about that?
Yeah, that's right. We understand that that Israeli security delegation, which left Tel Aviv a few days ago, remains in Cairo discussing the proposals to try and release the over 130 hostages still being held by Hamas within the Gaza Strip. Now, according to multiple Israeli media outlets this morning, the War Cabinet of Israel did discuss some of these new proposals which have been brought forward by both Egypt and Qatar. Now, reportedly in that proposal pushed by the two intermediaries there, Hamas leaders would be allowed to leave Gaza to live in exile in exchange for all of the remaining captives to be brought home here to Israel and for Israel to end its military operations within the Gaza Strip entirely. I mean, it is certainly a high-stakes effort that is being made here, and that proposal, we understand, is being discussed. But it will be a difficult one, I suspect, for the Israeli War Cabinet to agree on, just given some of the goals that they have set out publicly and their rhetoric around their war aims here being to crush Hamas and demilitarize the Gaza Strip. But I think, at least for the families who now have been waiting 3 months for their loved ones to come home to safety, it may provide some hope that negotiations are now again being discussed. They were called off last week in the wake of that airstrike in Beirut, which killed Salah Aruri, the deputy leader of Hamas.
It is another glimmer of hope for those families, Trent. But at the same time, the UN Security Council has passed this resolution overnight calling for an end to the attacks that we're seeing in the Red Sea. A step, it would appear, in the right direction. But how effective will this be, though, in actually stopping more attacks from occurring in the waterway?
Well, this is not the first time that we've had warnings and requests coming from the United Nations against those Yemen-based Houthi attacks on civilian shipping, and it hasn't appeared to deter them in the past. What has also not deterred them, seemingly, is this huge show of naval force being led by the Americans. There's a US carrier strike group right now in the Red Sea alongside the likes of the United Kingdom and Spain, and yet despite that naval presence, the Houthis have continued their attacks. In fact, we've seen in the past 36 hours the largest attack launched by the Houthis towards civilian vessels, 21 suicide drones and anti-ship missiles launched in total. We are being told it was a very tense night on the sea as 4 warships from the US and 1 from the UK worked to shoot all of those projectiles down. And we're also hearing reports in the past couple of hours from the UK Maritime Trade Office, which manages a lot of maritime safety traffic, that a vessel off the coast of Oman was boarded by 4 to 5 men armed, wearing military attire. They have reportedly now, the ship now is steering towards Iranian territorial waters and has lost all communications with military vessels in the area. So it would appear, based on those reports from the official UK body, that we could have a ship that has now been hijacked effectively and being steered towards Iran. It would be yet another example of just the escalation we are seeing in those vital shipping lanes.
Trent, thank you for that update. Trent Murray there in Tel Aviv.